Let's stay with Google and the issues this all throws up. I'm joined by Jonathan Fenby. Jonathan is from Trusted Sources. Now, Jonathan, you're the China Director of Trusted Sources here in the UK. If we take a broad look at this, what is going on here?
Well, China's been cracking down generally with censorship over the last year or so, and the internet has been an integral part of that because the Chinese authorities are very anxious to use the internet for its communications potential, but at the same time to keep a handle on it, to keep censorship in play. And today, interestingly, there was a whole half page in the People's Daily, which is the Communist Party newspaper, specifically devoted to a government statement on this, which said that everybody was welcome to operate in China, but must voluntarily accord with the law. So there's no give on the Chinese side.
But has Google broken the law?
Google is probably now breaking the law because it is not applying the censorship rules. But in the past, it was going along. And this is where Google's position is, let us say, a bit questionable, at least among some people, because when it went into China with its Chinese site 4 years ago, it accepted the censorship laws. And for instance, a famous case early on, you went into Google, you went into the English language Google, went in Tiananmen Square, and you got pictures of the massacre in 1989. You did the same on the Chinese version, and you got a nice tourist picture of Tiananmen Square with some happy tourists standing there. So it was accepting the censorship, basically, but now it's decided not to, and to free up its site. And in doing that, it obviously risks bringing the wrath of the Communist Party and the authorities down on it.
Why do it now? It's number 2 in China, and just to be, well, play devil's advocate, is this an excuse to try and get out of the country?
Well, if you were cynical, you could say somebody at Google may have done the sums and said, we didn't like this, we didn't like going along with censorship, and at least one of the founders of Google is known to have been very unhappy about this over the last few years, and that actually we're not making that much money out of China. Nobody knows how much exactly, but industry estimates are that Google's earnings in total from China around 200 million, which for a company of its size is relatively small, so it may feel we can get out of this. I think what's really spooked Google in this is the hacking, and we don't know, frankly, but if those hackers have been getting into the Google codes, into the algorithms and so on, obviously that's something that they're going to take very seriously indeed.
Right. What does this mean in terms of a negotiating position actually here, Jonathan, rather than actually this being the line in the sand?
I'm doubtful. I mean, there have been suggestions today that, of course, a compromise will be found.
Yahoo in the same boat as well?
Yes, and Facebook, Twitter, and China has been clamping down on a lot of these sites. All I can say is the Chinese leadership's present stance is not for negotiation. It took a hard line in Copenhagen, it's taken a hard line over the currency, it took a hard line over the Briton who was executed around Christmas in China. China doesn't do negotiation at the moment. They're feeling confident.
Will this harm business, people who want to do business in China, do you think?
It's all the accounts, I mean, it's anecdotal from foreign companies doing business in China, is that things have got tougher. And this is all part of China feeling confident, feeling it can do things its way and get away with it, and it doesn't really need the outside world as much as it used to.
Just on a more esoteric level, is it the Western approach being direct and confrontational, perhaps not the right route to be taking, and perhaps more, well, behind-the-scenes diplomacy is more required when you have Sino-Western relations?
Yes, I mean, this has always been the great argument, for instance, over human rights. Do you do better by trumpeting your disapproval from the rooftops, or do you do better behind the scenes? It must be said, I think, that either way, China will decide when to give way on certain issues and when not to. And I just come back to saying that at the moment, I think they're in a fairly hard stance, simply because they feel they've come out of the economic crisis. They're having 10% growth or something like that in the last quarter of last year, and they're working.
Okay, well, just going to give one last question on Google here. If you're a betting man, what would you be saying the outcome is going to be here?
I think that Google will be closed down in China and will continue to operate in the rest of the world as it did before, and we'll be able to say that it has stood up for censorship. And you can't quantify, monetize this, but obviously that is quite a good plus for the Google brand.
Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us. Jonathan Fenby there from Trusted Sources.